Here.
Joon's really good at communicating science to the public. He's definitely one of my best role models for communicating science.
Wow.
Yeah, he's really good. Oh, well, I guess I built up a lot of hype now.
Well, my hope is that you guys can actually render the stuff I'm going to say into experiences that you guys can understand. Scientists are not good storytellers, so we really need people to help.
We'll boil it down to the bare minimum for you.
Don't sell yourself short there, Joon, okay? I mean, I see those science genes you got on there. Those are goddamn science teacher genes right there. Those are nice.
Some roast.
Okay, no, I wasn't roasting. I was complimenting, okay?
Is my mic?
Nice shoes though, nerd! How about that, no? Okay.
Wait, let's do a mic test. Joon, can you...
Check.
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 And not only that, but look at my naked stool. Everyone's got like a stool that's covered. There. Nothing.
We like it better off.
All right, Oh, hey.
There we go.
Now I have my heckler, fighting mic on.
And Drew, you're on too, right?
Yeah, test.
Okay, cool.
All right.
All right, so let's jump right into it.
Yeah, all right.
Let's do it, right? All right, so this is extremely interesting stuff. How about, Joon, why don't you tell them about
Okay,
it?
so we're going to go through 10 questions. I think that's the format for tonight. And I'm going to go from easiest to hard. So this is the easiest question. I just want to start with something that we can all warm up to. And this is not a trick question. I'm going to ask you guys to count the number of times the letter F appears in this single sentence. Not a trick question, just read it front to back, and then the clicker.
Anytime someone says it's not a trick question, I'm always like,
You just
this is a fucking trick question,
Everybody
right?
does it fast readers. When you're done, look back at me. Then I know you're done. Okay, bring it back, okay.
What if you see every letter as F?
I got it. Okay.
It means you'll never die.
Okay, when you're done, look back at me, please.
Reading at the window receipt,
Okay, I think you guys have had enough time.
Okay.
All right, so how many people saw all three? Most of you. Anybody see 4? Some of you. Anybody see 5? Okay. So the real answer is 6, and now that you know the answer, see if you can pick out 6 F's.
Yeah,
It's blowing my
exactly.
mind, doctor.
And you'll catch them right away. Which ones did you guys miss?
5,
It would have been super nice to know before I did the show that I'm dyslexic, and this is terrible for me.
It's actually pronounced dyslexia, not dyslexia.
Oh, sorry. I'm dyslexic myself.
Hey, this isn't a roast, doctor. Jesus, this guy. Jesus.
Write them down, build them up.
Alright, so what the heck was that all about? I mean, here we think that we are smart and we can see things, and yet we can't see things that are right in front of us. You know, there's one group that can see all 6 F's every time. You know who they are? You know what we call them?
Kids.
Children, kids, yeah. So kids can see all 6 F's, and the older we get, the fewer F's we see. Now this is really impressive. Anything is impressive enough.
Also, the less F's we give in life.
Can't get, that's for sure. What?
You got it.
Yeah.
But I want to tell you that that's actually great news. You know why? Because those F's could represent the future of the world, future of healthcare, could represent your future, which means exciting opportunities could be ahead for all of us, and all we got to do is just call them out. So maybe the future isn't so hard to see. All we got to do is just elect to see it. And there's a reason why we can't see those things, because when you look at it from a evolutionary perspective, you know, our bodies were selected during an era when the average lifespan was 22. Mortality rates were high throughout your life, high mortality rate. Only half of us used to survive until puberty. People are dying all around us, right? So our bodies were not designed to live this long. Nature didn't shape us under that kind of regime. So now that we're living 100 years, on average, somebody born today, a kid born today can live 100 years. the idea of only being open for 13 years is now tragic, right? Because if you can see the world for 13 years and after that you're just executing on what you learned, we're now spending the vast majority of our life not seeing. So it was okay when we lived to 22 to only see for half our life. Now, we should really try to re-engage the world because the world is changing rapidly and we gotta see what's in front of us. So should we talk about what's in front of us?
I want to see these ups.
More than
I want
that.
to see these hidden ups. They're
So-
metaphorical.
It's like Deepak Chopra here. It's inspired. So no one got that one right. That was the first question, and we asked if anyone got it right. It's Eureka moment. So did anyone get 6 Fs?
And be honest,
Totally.
Yeah, I totally did. I'm super cool.
Before he told you, that's the
I read it backwards.
Okay, so one of them.
I read backwards.
I only saw F's the whole time.
So let's give our first Eureka moment prize out to somebody here. I guess it's right here in the front. You raise your hand the first.
So we'll give her a Eureka.
So give her a big round of applause. We've got all these cool prizes. We're going to have our friendly little comedians here pick one they think she deserves. Take a look at the box.
You got anything to spoil it?
Well, I kind of have now.
For sure.
Okay, let's do this. All right.
This is a,
It's a
Oh,
bondage
no.
man.
I think this goes here. Are you in a relationship?
I'm gonna put it
You
on.
are? Oh, perfect. Or if you're not, put it on your head. Don't sniff it.
Yeah, that actually does go on your head. It's like a face exercise for like your jaw. So it might be in relation to what he.
Wait, does anyone do ecstasy? Do they have TMJ? We might have to. Oh, okay. Never mind.
Maybe there's a secret Santa afterwards you can hook up with.
Anyway, you're gonna stare at that strangely for the rest of the night. Give it up for her.
So when I first read your sentence in one of your videos, and I only read 3, and you later explained that, of course, the ofs, and then I was like, oh, of course, my mind was tricked, and in that sense, I realized that. And also a neuroscientist in San Francisco, Adam Gazzelli, his research indicates that cognition peaks at the age of 23. And that also makes us a little bit sad sometimes, because now we're like, oh no, I can see a lot when I'm a kid, and then I don't see as much, and I don't cognize as much. My working memory and the strength of my mind later in my life.
So one of the things we can do to extend the window of time that we can see things, essentially our mind switches from a camera to a projector at age 12. So we can see, because we're open for 12 years, this is why we can learn languages when we're young, but after 12, you're executing the program that you already have. What are the things we can do to be a camera again? What helps us see? This is not one of the 10 questions. Anybody have any ideas?
Acid.
Can I just make a point that guy just
Are you a scientist? You should come on down.
or are you just a rad guy?
It's like in his basement, probably.
Yeah, I dabble.
Walter White.
I've been waiting to say that this whole time. Acid!
I came with one bit, it was acid.
So I'll come back to that.
No. We're not getting the answer. I want to know.
Learning.
I'm sorry?
Learning.
Learning. So what is the best way to learn once you've crossed the chasm and you're now a teenager? Because remember, this is the reason why teenagers act like they know it all, because we're biologically programmed to live about 22 years. So the idea of spending 12 years being a listener and 9 years being a talker was pretty balanced. But now we're living to 100, and we know teenagers know nothing, which is why we keep them under house arrest until they're 18. But we all know they stopped listening to us, right? And now you have a biologic explanation or an evolutionary explanation as to why they think like they know it all. They're supposed to know it all.
Oh, shit, I was gonna say that. I was gonna say experience through age. By the time you're like in your
I mean, early 20s, back when we were like Neanderthals, you were like top dog, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So should we just then tell them if, like, you know, a 12-year-old says, hey, I'm a know-it-all, I say, yes, you are, and you're going to die in 9 years. Yeah, is that how to balance it out? Like, you can, but we're going to kill you in 9 years.
Yeah. Or just be like, yo, little 12-year-old, why don't you take some acid?
Take
Open your mind up. You know?
Open your mind and shut your mouth.
All right, let's move to the next.
Let's go back to that.
It's going to be a 10-hour show.
We got an easy question out of the way, so let's just move on to the harder questions. You guys ready? Okay.
We have jokes to say for all.
The second question is. Okay, what 1970s arcade game does our current approach to aging resemble?
Pac-Man.
Snake.
Pac-Man. Why Pac-Man?
The only 70s game I can think of.
Okay, why Snake?
Pog?
Why Pog?
Snake. Sorry, I said simple.
Like an arcade can mean not only video games, but things that would happen at like a carnival.
Donkey Kong.
Whack-a-mole. There's your answer.
What's that? Fucking trick question! Yeah, where was the trick question premise?
Look at that guy.
Whack-a-mole.
So let's give
Oh, let's get a prize first. All right, what does Mr. Whack-a-Mole get?
Of course he gets this because I was wrong.
All right. This is the bedpan.
Who said that? Who said whack-a-mole? All right.
That's why I'm spitting it out later.
Wearing like a hat.
Thing as well.
So, you know, I used that before the show. May want to take that off.
All right, why whack-a-mole? So the greatest healthcare system ever invented is the one nature gave us. It's called homeostatic capacity. It's what enables us to get to homeostasis on our own. It works pretty well for about 40 years. In fact, it's so effective, we basically don't realize we have the healthcare system inside of us, right? Because feeling healthy is really the feeling of nothing. That's what we felt when we were 12 years old. We didn't feel vitality.
That's so depressing.
The feeling of nothing is like the exuberance of being a child. And then at, around 40, you start to feel something. And then you talk to your parents, and they feel everything, right? So you're feeling your health. So around 40, your homeostatic capacity starts leaving you. You're now no longer in homeostasis, and they can manifest as diseases. And then what the medical system does is we try to put you back together to the tune of $3 trillion a year. But it's basically whack-a-mole. We basically put out one fire at a time. Maybe there's a fire in your 40s, a couple of fires in your 50s, and if you're lucky, more wax at all the problems, 60s, 70s, and there's a drum roll, and then you die. So the short history,
You get whacked.
Yeah.
You're the most depressing guy.
At 30 years old, now you do a lot of whacking.
That's what You're killing something else, though, on your dead sheet.
Your
It's
self-esteem.
done.
It is a road. I achieved full homeostasis.
Millions of future marks are dying. Whacking them under.
No homeo.
So cheap.
Excuse us.
so whack-a-mole is essentially what the healthcare system is today. You're healthy, you're no longer healthy, and we try to put out the fires. That's pretty much all that happens. Now, we actually do a pretty good job as a system in terms of whack-a-mole. So we've been helping people live longer and stronger lives for a long time. For the last 100 years, we've solved enough of these things that pop up the moles that the average lifespan has gone from around 22 to now 100. And now we're dying of things that we didn't used to die of. Remember, what's the most common cause of death in nature? Like, don't even think about humans. What's the most common cause of death for fish?
Bear traps.
Predator, yes, I love that. That's the right answer. That's not one of the questions. I've got all sorts of interesting answers for, how do fish die. Somebody said Alzheimer's. I don't know.
They forget how to swim upriver.
My favorite was somebody said drowning.
Can you please leave?
So, yeah, getting eaten is the most common cause of death in nature, right? Because in the wild, every meal, you're either the prey or the predator. That's all that happens to you. It's 50% survivorship on average in nature. So most of us used to die from just getting eaten. Now, when you think about what used to kill humans in the pre-modern era, the most common cause of death were essentially getting eaten, trauma, or infection. Now we've dramatically reduced the rates of getting eaten.
You call that
No
health?
symptoms.
You call that healthcare 1.0?
It's solving for traumatic cause of death and infectious cause of death. That's remarkable through vaccines and clean water, surgery. By 1950s, we dramatically reduced those causes of death. So now the vast majority of us are surviving way past 22, way past 40. And now we're dying of new things that are related to aging. So that's where we are today. And the system we developed, which is the whack-a-mole system, doesn't work as well as it did for diseases under 40. So now we got to imagine a completely different kind of system. You know why? Because right now with whack-a-mole, we're making old people live a
Way
little
too
longer.
old? Way too old?
Way too old.
Yeah. Fucking kill these old people.
Yeah, we can fit their heads in that whack-a-mole.
So the old, we are an industry that creates future customers. Does that make sense? So the more we keep people alive, the more healthcare they need. This is a vicious cycle of escalating healthcare costs, right?
But they also contribute to GDP, which is the investment side of it.
Right. So from an investment perspective, it's a great industry because we're creating more and more demand. So that's great for investments, but is it good for society? Because the more we create old people, the more healthcare they need. That's a geometric rise of healthcare costs, which means the system is fatally flawed. How is it flawed? How is it fatally flawed? There's two ways it's fatally
Pro-death
flawed.
talk. Pro-death talk.
I'm sorry?
Pro-death talk.
Is that what we're leading into? Are we killing babies or are we killing?
I'm not for that.
Okay, alright.
It just turns into a whole different thing. He says, everyone over 60 is fucking dead!
That's the UK system.
You didn't give him a round of applause right now, he just fucked up.
Right, so the two ways in which the current system is fatally flawed are the following. Number one, if we keep going on the current trajectory, it's an amazing system, right, the healthcare system, but if we continue on this path, it's eventually going to kill the economy, right? More and more old people, they need more and more healthcare, it's going to become bigger and bigger part of the economic pie, and healthcare is going to just out-consume everything else. So that's a fatal flaw. What's the second fatal flaw of the current system, our current approach to aging?
Effective work life.
Okay, well, I think that's tied into the fact that we're creating old people. The second fatal flaw is everybody dies. So in this model of approaching aging, there are no survivors, right? So as good as the current system is, I think that this is the riskiest path. We need to do something radically different than what we're doing. So I think there's an urgency to thinking about aging differently. In fact, the healthcare system we have might be the second best idea we ever came up with.
What's the first?
Well, so that's the
Ooh.
next question. Yeah. Next question is there a better system? And the framing I would like everybody to use is this thing called an adaptive landscape. Most of you probably haven't heard of it. But if anybody knows the answer to this, they get the next prize. What is an adaptive landscape? It's an evolutionary biology term. Anybody heard of it?
This is going back to the acid thing again?
Open up my eyes and see leprechaun. It's adapting.
No?
Anybody?
Yep. Is that a population or a biosphere evolving to external changes? Like it got hotter, so now we're more adaptive to being hot?
So that's adaptive, but adaptive landscape is a narrower concept. So the idea that the way innovation and evolution works.
Well, does anyone know? We
Yeah,
discussed
okay.
this.
Don't give it away, Doc. Jesus, you got prizes.
How about this? How about this? Does anybody know what the word adaptive is?
I'm still trying to count the F's.
It's obviously so.
Okay.
Okay,
All right,
Four
Doc,
F's,
come on.
There are 4 F's.
In the back there.
So instead of the organism actually evolving different traits over time according to whatever it needs to survive, instead the landscape is or the environment is what's being modified so that their kind of chance of being fit and living is increased, but as a result of changes around them rather than their own internal biology.
So you picture gentrification?
I couldn't understand anything.
That was 0 for 2. Let's get, she's got it. She was looking at it the whole time. She was like, nah, motherfucker.
No,
There's that city in Sweden that's for all of the Alzheimer's patients to live, and the whole city is built around people with Alzheimer's.
Filled
And
with
then they
skulls.
live there. So
yeah, we
it's
listen
okay
to
live where
Invisibilia, we know.
Any of these close?
That was it, right?
This is the second easiest question. No, actually, this is probably the hardest question. Unless you've heard of it, you won't get this one. So I'm just going to explain it to you. That was exactly wrong, but yes.
Off to that side side of Alzheimer's.
There's an exact wrong.
This is science, right? Okay, so think about innovation, evolution as a landscape where a ball can roll. The more innovative is at the bottom. So we're trying to find a valley where you're in an optimum state of evolvedness, fitness, innovation. And the challenge is, you can be in one of these valleys as a ball rolling, thinking, okay, I found bottom. I found the ideal solution. I found the ideal healthcare system.
Which is why they make oven timers with your app in San Francisco. That kind of stuff.
Exactly. So you have this purview and your vista such that on all sides it's a hill. So like, okay, I must be at the bottom of the valley. But if you never climb to the top, you will never see that there is a much better valley over here. And so much in evolution, we end up with these little blind alleys thinking, okay, that's about as good as we're going to get. And it's very hard to de-evolve, to get to a different place, to have enough energy to find a new valley. So it takes a long time and a lot of happenstance for us to go pursue greener pastures elsewhere. So the healthcare system we have seems like it's a pretty good system. And we are innovating incrementally around that, right? Digging into the valley. But what if there's a much better healthcare system that we've never seen before? So maybe the current system was the second best system. What might the best system out there look like that is a more global minimum than where we're at today?
Right? Repeal Obamacare. Trump. Oh, okay.
Great. That killed him at death job.
209.
Excuse us.
Excuse us.
We're just trying
Sorry for talking the truth.
to make healthcare great, yeah.
All right, guys. So what?
Next question.
Well, before
As I chug a beer, I'm like, what are you talking about health?
we're talking about politics. So, what do you think is going to happen if people live longer to politics? Okay. So,
Do we have any answers for that?
questions from the
More Republicans, older and whiter.
Do we have an answer? Yeah.
Well, older people tend to vote more, and they will vote in their best interest and direct more of the economy towards them.
So in general, that's correct. And older people.
Eureka, right?
It wasn't that wasn't one of the
That's where Reagan was from.
Shit.
We'll outlaw young people.
I didn't catch that. One more time, please.
We'll outlaw young people.
Okay, people. So, old people.
Sorry. Yeah.
Here's the reality about the way we all vote. Young people tend to be more liberal, and old people tend to be more conservative. So, as a consequence of the longevity movement, we are essentially creating more conservatives. So, if you extend out this argument, more and more people are going to be conservative. conservative. And what the other feature of aging, as we talked about on the first slide, is we actually become harder of hearing, harder, we don't listen to each other as much. So as divisive as this current environment is around politics, imagine a society full of old people. I gotta tell you, the older we get, the harder it is to listen to each other. I mean, have you guys ever been in a nursing home? There's no dialogue going on in a nursing home, right? It's a mutual monologue. They all
Very accurate. When someone's screaming about like, FDR was the best, the other person's like, my cat's name is Mittens. And they're like talking to each other. It's fucking insane.
In fact, I think the word dialogue means two conversations, right?
This guy with his fucking PhD all night. Dude, what did you not understand about I'm a comic? I dropped out of college. Every time you talk, I just see a picture of a hot dog in front of my face. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Should we get to the next question?
I want to make a quick point.
I'm uncomfortable.
June, quick thought about what you said. So even though aging may be extended so far as to create more conservatives in that sense, what about people that have growth mindsets that are able to retain a sense of constantly being open to new perspectives?
Exactly. So I think there's two things we need to do, because I think the longevity movement is unstoppable. It's what humans want. So we need to now reimagine our world in a way such that we can open our minds up, so we can become seers again, we can be kids again,
Yeah.
to listen to each other.
Because when, in a sense, doctor, confirm me on this.
Take notes.
In a sense, you would say when you age more, it makes it harder to see the ofs in life.
And the ifs.
Yes.
Yes? Aha! Drew?
What's up, dog? What's up, Drew?
No, he agrees with me. I'm on his side. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Go back
So
to Trump
the
again.
best thing for us to think, we need to actually solve aging. And any liberal out there that wants to keep the political environment balanced, we need to go solve aging, because if we don't, it's going to become more and more conservative and more divisive. So I want all people that want liberalism to get involved in the end of aging movement, for political reasons too.
But what if conservatives cut health care? Aren't they going to create more liberals?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm saying.
This is gonna fucking spiral into why did the DNC rig the primaries?
We just got rid of the electoral college. We'll live longer.
All right, moving on.
Oh, wait, okay.
I get the movie
They
prize.
show dick pic on the screen? Is that what?
Well, let's see who has the name. Who has the name? Who can call? Describe what it is.
Yeah, we'll see.
What 1970s toy will our future approach to aging?
Matryoshka!
Is that
What
correct?
is that?
No.
No.
Russian dolls.
Okay, I heard
it.
say it.
What is it?
Mr. Potato.
He said the correct time up there. He said babushkas up there. That's,
I have a guess, but I'm gonna wait.
Okay, whoever said the right answer, say it a little louder, please.
Weebles.
Weeble.
Eureka! All right, what does the Weeble smart woman get?
Oh, dude, this of course.
That, yes, here it comes.
She wins a baby! Where are you, Weevil?
Right here.
Alright, that's one down. Congratulations. It's 18 years of your life.
The doctor kid.
Okay, so for those of you who haven't seen a Weeble wobble, it's like an egg-shaped toy where you push it and it kind of self-centers. Does that sound familiar to you guys?
Yeah.
Okay. So think about that as the healthcare system nature gave us. We have this incredible ability to center on our own when we're stressed, when we're pushed. Right? It works very effectively. So let's put a name to that phenomenon. How many people here know the definition of homeostasis? I mean, you know, Mark.
Yeah, of
yeah,
course.
that's
Yeah.
what that is.
Not
What
electricity created
that's
from the
what,
Castro?
no, that's what Pauly Shore and what's his face are trying to achieve in the movie Biodome.
Homeo.
Super true.
No one saw that movie. Okay, all right.
It's on Netflix.
Can anyone give an example of homeostasis?
pH, that's a good one.
If it's like a weeble wobble, then you should just glue yourself to a rocking chair.
Keep your thumbs up.
That actually is one of the solutions.
Another example?
Okay, and anybody know why you're in a rocking chair, by the way?
Digest food, you get hungry, so you go find something to eat.
Okay, so it's the getting back to equilibrium. I think it's the same way.
Keep,
I'm sorry?
yeah, you have
Balance.
it, right?
Balance.
Got a microphone, motherfucker.
Do it. What's another one?
Circulation?
Circulation, yeah. These are all.
Good job, guys.
In fact, you can actually list almost anything our body does, and they basically support homeostasis in one way or another.
Come shots.
Yeah. We don't need to go glue to impress these people.
Okay, so homeostasis is what we're learning. We're just going to add one word to that.
Keep the light on this
Called
guy.
homeostatic capacity. So homeostatic capacity describes your ability to get to homeostasis. So when I think about what am I losing in the middle of my life, I'm losing homeostatic capacity. So let me describe to you what it feels like to be me right now. I had high homeostatic capacity, I felt nothing, and all of a sudden I'm starting to feel something. Now, when I go on a roller coaster, I come out of it and my body doesn't self-center, so I get nauseous. So I basically stop riding.
Well, it's nauseated. You get nauseated.
I get
You
nauseated.
collected him on dyslexia, so I want to correct you.
My
Actually,
boy got my back.
you get, it's when you say I get,
Let's, okay.
I get,
Just stop while you're
you said I get nauseous, right? When you, yeah, you meant nauseated. When you get when you say I'm nauseous, that means you're making everybody around you sick. But when you say I'm nauseated, it means you're sick. So.
Mr. PhD right here.
And there are other great examples like hangovers.
Hangovers, so all the things that I didn't used to feel, I can't do anymore. I can't go to Tahoe without feeling the altitude. I can't go diving without feeling the pressure. Same thing with recovering from anything. Recovering from injury is much harder. Recovering from a late night, I used to be able to stay up all night when I was in college and feel fine the next day. Now, I went to the Lady Gaga concert on a Tuesday.
Of course you did.
Pump the brakes.
I thought I saw you there. Oh my God.
I didn't know you were a party monster. I was there.
So these are all our hangovers. Used to be much easier to recover from. At my age, everything's much harder. Temperature variance. I used to be able to tolerate cold and hot, and now my kids are in t-shirts and I'm in 2 layers, and they're telling me it's not cold. I'm telling them it's freezing, and neither one of us are lying, right? So what's happening? What I'm losing is homeostatic capacity. I cannot center my weevil anymore. These are all the things we can feel, but now imagine all the things we can't feel, such as your blood pressure or your sugars. When we are young and our blood pressure goes high and our sugar goes high, our weevil returns at the center. Our homeostatic capacity restores normal numbers. Now, in some of us, after 40, those things go high and they stay high, and we give it strange Latin names like hypertension or diabetes. Is it possible that these things aren't unrelated conditions? What if they're all just one disease of lost homeostatic capacity?
So we need more homeostasis in our life.
We need more homeostasis, but we need more homeostatic capacity to take us there.
Because what's the number? So if you could live like a 25-year-old your entire life, how long would you live?
Okay, that's actually the next question, so I'm
Okay.
not going to
All right.
answer yet.
I know.
Let's go there.
But
It's
from
sequel.
whack-a-mole to weeble wobbles, that's the goal.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a complete different framing, and in order to even measure homeostatic capacity, we don't have a way to measure homeostatic capacity. We measure homeostasis. So when you go to your annual checkup, a doctor will measure your heart rate, blood pressure, glucose, cholesterol, right? These things are all state variables. They're all state and time. You know what we forgot in biology? We forgot to measure the 4th dimension, which is time. All of our biomarkers in science are 3-dimensional variables. And we all know, in terms of engineering systems, all of our systems are dynamic systems. They're not static systems. And we're studying all of you as a medical system. We're studying all of you statically. And as far as I can tell, you guys are all dynamic. Things are changing. Your blood pressure changes more sitting than standing than it does year to year. So why the heck are we measuring your blood pressure once a year?
And I'm waiting for this to be connected to seagulls. I'm assuming the seagulls.
He's trying to get back to homeostasis. Same thing with your
Nailed
That's
it.
such a. He's trying to get back to homeostasis. That's why we put a seagull there.
Balance.
Which fucking scientist made this PowerPoint presentation?
Was it you?
Old people should die, right?
Well, I do want to make the important point that in order to truly understand our physiology, we need to add the fourth dimension to all of our biomarkers. Like your heart rate is stable your whole life, but your heart rate response to exercise is what declines with age. We've known that for decades, and yet we don't use it in all of us. So now it's time to introduce the fourth dimension to healthcare.
Acid.
You
You got it, buddy.
And so would that mean then how long it would take my body to come back to equilibrium?
How robustly your body comes back to equilibrium is going to be the future of medical diagnostics. This hasn't happened yet. This is all upside. And once we come up with measurement tools and measure your system dynamics, we're going to now come up with therapies that increase your system dynamics. Let me give you one example of what this looks like. Like when your blood pressure is high, what do we do for you today?
Medication.
Medication to lower your blood pressure.
Oh, you stick your hand in the thing at CVS and it goes.
Bicep test.
That's what you do without healthcare, buddy.
Yeah, well, that's
We're gonna get there.
I thought I was
Pump the
winning, so
brakes.
like hella high. I was like, hell yeah, dude.
I thought you were talking about
Sweet.
fisting.
Oh.
This is when you feel your blood pressure's
No, that's what I
Feeling
do.
somebody else's blood pressure. That's
That's what I do. I try to achieve homeostasis.
at CVS of all places.
Listen, this is a
All right.
crazy game of whack-a-mole when you get older, and trying to step this up to Galaga. Galaga? Okay, what's that
Let's
other?
get back to the
Let's get
actual
back
science.
And we'll get to the next question too in a second.
Yeah.
Yes, I will. So right now we give you a blood pressure lowering medicine, but because we've solved the number, we've restored homeostasis without restoring homeostatic capacity, your system actually atrophies, so your baseline blood pressure gets worse. It's kind of like the more coffee you drink, the more tired you get, right? So the more blood pressure lowering medicine you take, the higher your baseline blood pressure. Like this is an example of whack-a-mole, and you're actually inducing disease. What's the best way to actually treat high blood pressure? What does your doctor tell you to do?
Diet and exercise?
Diet's one thing, exercise. And in exercise, you're raising your blood pressure, and lo and behold, your body lowers your blood pressure. Your homeostatic capacity is actually the therapy, right? So the question is the best way to treat high blood pressure put exercise in a bottle? What if we gave people blood pressure raising medicines as a way to treat their high blood pressure?
We have that, it's called cocaine. I'm not saying I take that medicine.
Taking lessons to learn from tonight's lecture.
That's an example of how we have not tested that out. So there's so much we haven't tried in medicine. But the main thing is instead of thinking about the therapy as a solution, let's think about the body as a solution. Homeostatic capacity as a way to improve your health rather than homeostasis as a way to improve your health. Okay.
Next question right here.
All right, if a person could live at the mortality rate of a 25-year-old, how long would that person?
One F.
You basically asked that question already. You were
Yes.
ahead of the...
Doing a lot of research.
I know the answer.
Around 20? We'd hit the Hayflick limit.
Okay. So,
Infinity.
A millennia.
a millennia.
25
This isn't a fucking
$1,
right. Just
$1,
yeah, exactly.
$1.
Who said millennia?
Big money.
Millennium?
Okay. That's correct.
Oh, Eureka from Millennia.
Get that price
Is that
box out.
Millennia?
That's true. You really crushed that.
The question was, if you live at that rate of mortality, how long you would live, right?
Open it up. Take a look.
Keep talking amongst yourselves.
Oh,
Holy shit, all right, who said it? Who said it?
All right,
What is it?
Show,
What is it?
show the audience what it
It
is.
is Bob, it is a beautiful thing that you put in your ear that doctors do.
Oh,
I didn't
look at
graduate
that.
college, I don't fucking know what it's
You can
called.
check in the ear. Do it.
Oh, that's related too, right?
You can select what do they call those? The ear. What is it called?
Stethoscope.
No, that's
It goes on your chest.
Stethoscope.
that's a stethoscope for the ear. Yes. Ear stethoscope.
It's an earoscope, asshole.
Stethoscope, right?
It's an earoscope. Sorry.
Anyway, back to you,
Doctor, what's it called? Just tell us what it's called.
Yeah, what?
So this will explain everything, this image.
Thank you.
This is basically a stethoscope cord right here.
That's called Microsoft Paint.
Alright, so the mortality rate of a 25-year-old per year, which is a chance of dying each year, is 0.1%. So if you could, I'm sorry, it's 0.01%. So if you could live at that rate of mortality, I got the question wrong. I got my own question wrong. The answer is actually 100 years.
100 years.
Really? That's definitely
It seems like $5.
You get 1/10 of that prize.
Take that out of your ass and get it out of homeostasis right now.
I'm doing my math wrong. It's 0.1% mortality rate per year, so you would live 1,000 years if you could live at that rate. By the way, if you live at age 14, your mortality rate per year is 0.01%. So if you can live at that rate, it'd be 10,000 years. So all I'm trying to say is that if you could live, the things that kill you are things that are avoidable. Car accidents, well, maybe not that one, but gunshot wounds, suicide, infections, right? They're an externality. But after 40, you start dying of inside diseases, like cancer, diabetes, hypertension. These are things that kill you. Even though you still have the background mortality rate, your annual mortality rate keeps going up until when you're 120, it's 100%. So imagine if you could just maintain your state of health that you have for a long period of time to your 20s and 30s for a long time. That's the idea. That's really the gambit. The longevity movement is about keeping you healthy, not about making old people live long.
So how do we retain the 14-year-old's homeostatic capacity?
Drink their blood.
Steal it from them.
Alright. There it is.
Make them watch Game of
He's
Thrones.
ahead of the curve that you just saw.
Reach into their souls.
What is the
Acid.
Yeah.
Okay, what is the best way?
All right, Joe, wait, come on, man. I was just calling back and like, oh, why are you stealing all the callbacks, man?
Sorry, you gotta call back to the call. I'm sorry.
Okay, so what is the best way to increase our homeostatic capacity?
Exercise.
Drink lots of water.
Okay, they're all correct so far. Well,
Take high blood pressure medicine.
but they're all partially correct. I'm going to explain to you why they're all partially correct. Okay. So I heard a lot of different things: exercise, sleep, stress. Okay, all these things.
Whack-a-mole. Whack.
All these things give you 50% credit, and here's why.
Well, can anyone get us like 75% and get the prize? What do you think?
99.999 recurrent.
Exercising while sleeping.
The answer is to do both, to stretch your dynamic range. So exercise alternating with sleep is the metaphor that we want to encourage.
Let's give it for the snarky answer. What is our younger audience member get?
Well, this is the guy that said we should kill all the young people. So, can I give him a little penis?
Oh yeah, see this thing? And then look, it says press me. You want to press it, Drew, or
Yeah, I'll press
it.
it.
There you go.
Oh, it's a farting penis.
Farting doesn't get much clever thing.
This
You know what
is
I'm
the
saying?
gas relief pill. It's
Oh,
health
it's
related.
health related. Yeah, you can.
I'm really afraid of giving it to this guy, though, to be honest.
I've been wanting that dick all night.
You just gave him a farting dick. All right.
Nothing says science like a farting dick.
Hope you're riding the bus back home tonight.
Alright, so dynamic range is the idea that
Don't let us slow you down.
it's not about one thing, you gotta vary what you're doing, right? So it's not just exercise, but you gotta vary with rest. It's not, it's not, remember, chronic stress is what kills us. So actually, getting stress is okay as long as you intermix it with meditation and things that are super relaxing, right? So exercise is good, but you gotta rest in between. Interval training is much better than running a marathon.
How do we get the NBDL picture right there? What league is that
was
from?
on that team.
This is, I'm down there.
Is that? Oh, that's you?
Holy shit, give it up for a baller right now.
Whoa! Fuck that!
He thinks backs and fucking baskets.
You're gonna have Shutterstock photos this whole time, and then he's gonna throw in a picture, champion basketball player.
It's just me and Seth Murray, knows he's the
I
guy.
know you forgot it on my resume.
I know.
Didn't talk about my
Played for the
sports
Warriors for
accomplishments.
5 years.
NDBL, what does that stand for, doctor?
Do Away with Dad's Basketball League.
The way the dash?
The way the dad's got the
Told the way
black
the
guy
dash.
on the team. How about
Way the
that?
dash,
Huh?
huh?
These are all guys that have crossed the magical 40 threshold.
Wow.
No, are you serious?
That guy's 16 years old. That guy is in perfect valley of homeostasis right now.
He's 30. He's a ringer.
He's 30.
He's a ringer.
God, how the fuck does that guy look better than me?
It's called facial cream, man.
That's true.
Exercise.
Find the guy with a farting dick.
So he's a collegiate athlete. You know, after we turned 40, it turns out a lot of us played sports growing up, and after 40, we don't play anymore. And when we ask them, why don't you play sports anymore? Well, because we haven't played in so long, I'm afraid I'm going to get hurt. So our conclusion was, that means we should play all the time. We're like, oh my God, we should play all the time. So we started playing sports together. We lost people immediately. One to an Achilles, one to an ACL.
They were not living in their true curve.
The survivors look like
That
that.
talk. These are the survivors.
And the good news is you're working on your health, and it's making this.
We are. So
We
we
need
are.
this photo of dead bodies, but can't see them. They didn't make it.
I like basketball because of stop and go. And that's the message here. It's not exercise per se, but it's the variance. So running a marathon is probably better than not exercising, but what happened to the first guy that ran the marathon?
He died.
He died, right. So I think marathon is not a good idea. I recommend doing intermittent exercise, and you don't have to do a lot of it. So that's one of the takeaways, is just keep varying what you do. The idea is like vaccination. You know, when you vaccinate yourself, your body gets stronger. So think about exposing yourself to all sorts of different things as a way to increase your homeostatic capacity. Like, spend more time in the sun.
Well, can we hold on? What was that last photo?
Yeah, what was that?
It's like about to snap that young man's neck.
That's Alexander Hamilton.
Snapping his wife is snapping a young man's neck. You'll live forever.
I didn't know that much cleavage was allowed to be showed back in the day.
We keep going. I don't want to slow you down, but I just want we have to see what that
You're watching out for the young people.
The idea here is that if you spend more time in the sun, you sleep better. So the more light you get exposed to during the day, have you ever been tired after a day surfing or sailing? Okay.
Yeah,
So spend more time in the sun at nighttime instead of living under the light. Shut it all down. That'll help you the next day stay more awake. So think about increasing your capacity. Temperature. So we're trying to be 70 degrees all the time. But remember, these are my boys, t-shirt, 2 layers, right? So the more we try to be 70 degrees, the more intolerant we get to cold and hot. Remember, we're the first species in nature's history to not live in ambient temperature.
Yeah. Are you in a bayou right there?
I'm in a bayou. No,
I'm
that's
from New Orleans. It looks like a bayou. It looks like you're about to wrestle alligators with your boys.
Yeah, Drew and I both grew up in the South. This is
Yeah.
actually East Coast, and the water's only about a foot deep.
That sounds about right. You sink down your knees when you step in it.
But
Mud.
it's actually summertime,
Okay.
and on the coast it's a little cool. It's 50 degrees, and I'm in 2 layers. And the kids are always making fun of me. What we actually need to do is spend more time in environments like
This
this.
is what you talked about earlier. Your son's in a short sleeve shirt and you're fucking bummed up with a lesson.
Exactly. So the
Sorry, I
best,
didn't want to make scientific terms with you.
the best way to overcome that is to spend more time alternating between hot and cold, so you actually increase your capacity instead of trying to be 70 degrees all the time. You know, my wife can tell the difference between 69 and 71 inside the room. That means she's so debuffered, so deconditioned, you're not supposed to feel that variance. So much of what we're doing with HVAC system, with our clothes, moving to California, is actually blood isn't thinning, you're just losing homeostatic capacity. So go back out there and stretch it out again.
And can we also just give a big round of applause for Dr. Joon's amazing hair? Their sons, look at the hair. Dude, look how cool. It's like a surfer magazine cover.
They both play music, that might be why. Okay, so stretch your muscles.
I'm gonna dab in public.
Ride more roller coasters if it's hard.
Riding a roller coaster?
Ride roller coasters. So don't just meditate. Don't just meditate on motion. Meditate with alternating with scaring yourself.
Yeah.
Stress will kill you, right?
So you're saying stretch?
Buy a dead cat. People buy your pillow at night.
This is horrific.
Never
Kill a
forget.
cat once a day.
Take its life energy.
Just get above like Mortal Kombat. and suck up.
Steal its homeostasis.
You are a monster, sir. I looked up to you before
Is
this.
this from your personal vault, Doctor?
It's got 9 lives after all.
Give him a
Kill her.
farting dick, alright?
I'm gonna come back to this, but have you guys heard of secondhand smokes?
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's time to learn about secondhand stress. Secondhand stress.
I'll tell you, my girlfriend, gonna give me cancer.
Exactly right. You know why?
It is?
We don't have healthcare, so we're literally asking you everything.
Break up your girlfriend.
You have a different name Tiffany in your chest right
Yeah, Jesus Christ, and you're cut off. 7 texts from me. All right.
So what I meant is, stress is totally contagious, and the reason for that is actually Darwinian. In the wild, if you're a wildebeest, and the wildebeest next to you is freaking out, and you don't freak out with it, you're the one that's gonna get eaten, right? So we're all hardwired to make the stress of others our own, which made sense when we had a high chance of getting eaten. But in the modern world, we have almost no chance of getting eaten, and yet we're still executing that response of, if somebody's stressed, I'm gonna get stressed. Like if a coworker's getting stressed, I'm gonna get stressed. You know, this is why type A parents pick type A kids, because they bring all that stress home, right? So everybody talks about how genes cause heart disease to run in families. What about epigenetics? Right? Behavioral transmission of stress. This is a really important thing, because this means that we have the ability to kill each other by spreading stress around our community. That's very unfortunate, right? So really keep in mind.
That's why I've been unfriending all those people on Facebook lately.
All their pictures of them screaming at their toddlers.
No, unfriend.
So you're.
Jesus!
Now, if we want to give stress to a child, what do we do? Oh, right there. Yeah, we can trap them in inflatable.
When we are stressed, this is how kids are being raised, right? Because we're so afraid of what's going on that we've now wrapped ourselves in our fears to a degree of total irrationality. This is how kids are being raised. Okay.
We feed them to cats.
Just to clarify,
All
so
that.
if we're increasing homeostatic capacity, we need to take ourselves to these extremes more often and train ourselves to come back to equilibrium better?
Thank you, Alan, for keeping us on track. So the message is...
He's the only one listening.
Your ability to get back increases. Okay, so that means diet. So let's talk about that. Somebody mentioned diet as, the thing that can help you with health. It may be diet, but if you just keep eating the same narrow diet all the time, I think your body's going to decondition. So like, I used to be able to eat anything when I was young, and now at my age, if I eat a bad meal, like I eat a fatty meal for dinner, I wake up at 1 a.m. predictable. So is it really diet that's killing us? Or is it lost dietary capacity? Is it inflammation that's killing us? Or is it lost inflammatory capacity?
Lost it.
So,
Everyone gets a ribbon in this stuff.
Eating things he says, no?
I wonder about diet is, maybe we should actually, instead of avoiding the junk foods, we should actually eat junk food once in a while. So
Eat
this-
some food. This guy right
This is science's gut to get behind.
That's what I'm saying, bro. If I don't eat Taco Bell for 6 months and I eat Taco Bell, it's terrible. But if I eat
feel
Taco
alive.
Bell every night of my life,
You
I
terrible.
feel shit. Like shit. But I feel like it,
Affording dick problems.
It's queefing dick.
I lost my train of thought. Started thinking about quesadillas.
So this is the first lifestyle dietary advice that includes a bag of Doritos once a month. That's actually a bag of Doritos.
Is it really?
So don't think narrowly, think very broadly, think about challenging.
Is that your cat?
No, I'm allergic to cats.
You know, some poor
Now that explains the dead cat after all.
I joked on the cat with this line. Sue me.
Another way to increase your dynamic range. I just
Dead
find
cat is
pictures
sad.
of it on the internet, so there you go. the next one is laughing. Laughing is another thing that increases your cardiovascular dynamic range.
Keep coming to this shit.
Exactly. Okay, next question.
Wait, did we just skip over sex? What happened?
We always skip over
Well, you
sex.
saw sex and a woman laughing, so you
You say no one skipped over sex in your life?
I just thought boobs were coming on the screen.
You can pull out your
Or
phone.
dicks, whatever you're into. I still think my girlfriend's giving me cancer. All right.
Great callback. All right, so next question is aging encoded in our genes.
No.
Okay, I still haven't heard the right answer. It's not yes or no.
Not yes or no.
Maybe.
Ish? Oh, we have to just raise your hand.
Okay, raise your hand.
All right. Let's get an Oprah moment here.
Oh, I have the mic.
Welcome to the club, yo.
So off the top of my head, we have telomere shortening with each cell division, and men lose their Y chromosome with age.
Shit, girl, I got all my Y chromosomes.
Better check
I
that.
got a bunch of Y chromosomes.
I have another one in my head.
Is that close?
And cells only divide like 40 to 60 times, and then they become senescent. So.
Okay, well, thank you for the Khan Academy lesson.
Oh, we got roasted!
Is that
This guy's ruthless.
Lock him up.
You said it wasn't yes or no, right?
So is your answer yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Is that correct or no?
No.
God, you savage as fuck!
You whacked the wrong mold.
This is a trick question.
Oh,
It's not a yes or no. The real answer
There's
is
no S in this.
the real answer is none of us know. You can't prove or disprove that aging's encoded yet because we actually haven't found the answer. The answer is we don't know yet. We don't know. So I would say yes.
I still want to give her a prize.
Let's
I'm giving you a good one, too.
Tricky PowerPoint creator, Dr. Jim.
I'm the lecture, not the answer.
No, I know. First question I was like, this is a trick question. Wasn't a trick question. Every question since then, trick question. It was just like, yes or no. Actually, no, trick question.
We're going to give you a Japanese mouth face exerciser. You got to put it in your mouth.
What's up with all the jaw and mouth exercises, Trevor? What are you? People come to the show, it's like, let's fill the review out. I wish I had something to work my jawline.
We like to keep mouths and minds open.
It also has a weird keychain loop, like you would put that on your fucking keys. You have to work like, what's that weird thing on your keys? Oh, it's my Japanese jawline workout thing.
Why are you chewing on your key ring right now?
All right.
I think it's when we get older, it's not that we age, it's that the older we get, the more things want to eat us. We therefore become more tasty.
That's one way to look at it.
Shut up, farty dick.
So that actually is a great answer. Here's why. Because after 40, before modern technology, as our body starts letting go of our homeostatic capacity, all of a sudden our eyes can't tune, right? If you can't see in the modern age, you just put on glasses. In the olden age, if you couldn't see, you're the one that's going to get eaten, right? The second thing that goes is your brain. So if getting eaten doesn't kill you from your eyes going, your brain goes, all of a sudden you can't think, then you're going to get eaten. And if that doesn't kill you, you start experiencing the pain of getting older, and then you stop fighting aging. And that's the third way you go, right? So the fact that nature is always there to select us out, but we start losing our faculties, both physical abilities and mental faculties, ensures we get out of the way. And that's the old idea that aging was encoded. This idea was actually first hypothesized, not proven, by August Weismann. Maybe aging is a way to recycle old members and make new ones. The idea was around for 100 years, and then it disappeared about 50 years ago. Yes?
How do you define aging? What is aging to you?
Okay, so that is the trickiest question of all, because no one actually has the
Getting
answer
rejected
what
on
aging
Tinder
is.
too much.
I tend to think about it as loss of homeostatic capacity, is what, and aging is the consequence of loss of homeostatic capacity. It's your inability to get the homeostasis on your own, but there's lots of different definitions out there. and we don't have a consensus on it yet. So it's, you can come up with whatever definition you would like.
But you have created the Palo Alto Longevity Prize. Maybe talk about that because that's
Yeah, the Palo Alto Longevity Prize is asking the scientific community to restore homeostatic capacity instead of restore homeostasis. Because if we could put the healthcare system back in the body where it was for the last 40 years, we could end aging, we could end healthcare, we can all go back to being civilians. We just need orthopedic surgeons, infectious diseases, the things that used to kill us 200 years ago. And the rest of us can hopefully have sustained health and lower mortality rates throughout your life. And the reason that's good is because not dying is the best way to promote longevity, right?
Oh,
So,
counterintuitive.
so that's the gambit of the Palo Alto Prize, is to really focus on sustained health, and hopefully you get longevity as a free call option.
And you use tools like a prize because it catalyzes innovation in a sense, right? And in order to elicit innovation, you host a prize, people compete, they figure out how to hack the aging code, and we live until we're 1,000 years old.
Exactly, and prizes are what we're giving away today, right? So why do prizes work? Prizes work because it's kind of like how nature works, right? There's a prize, and there's diversity of options, and there's a winner. And
Darwin.
It's very Darwinian, right?
He has a lot of white chromosome in his pants.
Yeah, my white chromosome is getting a little punched up, so I have to. I'm trying to get back into homeostasis. Never mind, I'm not gonna.
Keep saying brilliant shit.
Yeah, we're good.
Anybody here been in a canoe in a creek or a river?
In a bayou.
In a bayou, exactly. So what happens when you push a canoe? It fishtails, right? You can't control where it goes. And that's essentially how we fund science, is we push scientists and they go like this, and occasionally they end up in amazing places. Other times they end up in an eddy and they get stuck, right?
And we play whack-a-mole.
And we play whack-a-mole. What happens when you pull a canoe? It comes straight at you. So think about grant writing as pushing a canoe, prizes as pulling a canoe. So if you want something very specific done, it's much better to do it as prizes rather than grants.
That's what we were thinking. We decided to do prizes for this show.
We're gonna pull the fuck out of this video.
All right, so when thinking about whether aging is encoded or not, there's something called, the model is Pascal's wager. Anybody here Pascal's wager? Okay. So here's a
Why are you so
mathematician.
smart?
Can somebody tell me what Pascal's wager was?
It's that you say you believe in God because when you die, if God's there, then you want to say you believe in Him. But if you say you don't believe in the whole life, then it's, if God is there, you
go to hell.
Right, so you're a very good reader. Thank you.
Dude, fucking roast king over here. Jesus.
You need to let the microphone and get roasted again, right?
So Pascal actually put this in the notes. After he was dead, in his estate, they found his notes about the argument. You can't prove or disprove the existence of God. I'm just going to assume he exists because the payoff is so asymmetric. This looks like every McKinsey chart, right? Four quadrants, God exists, doesn't exist, believe in God, not believe in God. There's a huge asymmetric payoff in the upper left-hand corner. And then, very adverse outcome if you don't believe in God exists. So basically he said, okay, I'm just going to believe he exists even though I can't prove it. And I hope he's happy with his decision. And so now if you think about, is aging encoded or not encoded? We can't prove it. The answer is I don't know. But we just decided, let's just assume it's a code and look for the code, because there's nobody doing that. Everybody assumes that aging is inevitable, and all we're doing is whack-a-mole. So what the prize is doing is, let's actually assume the code exists, and let's go hunt for the code. And if we can edit out the code, because anything that's programmed is reprogrammable, right? Is this the shortest possible path to ending aging? Is this the global minimum that could end the current healthcare system, is the gambit. Okay.
And the next question.
Next question. Oh, thank you. All good. Thank you. What are common objections to human longevity? There's multiple answers here. We only have one prize, and we'll come up with the best.
Who hasn't answered yet? All right, hold on.
Florida? Is it Florida is a common objection? That's correct. The state of Florida will decrease your longevity.
Well, let's see some others.
Florida's rad as fuck.
Can somebody be Florida?
Overpopulation and resource scarcity.
Okay, overpopulation, that's a good one. Can anybody beat that?
And too much traffic. Is that good enough?
Is that it?
Hold on. We haven't heard from Dick Farty yet. So,
And acid.
Richard Parkinson. I like that guy's rap folks.
All right.
Don't say that one.
Oh, yeah, frozen. I love you so much. I want you to be healthy, so I'm going to give you some gummy frozen vitamins.
Yeah.
From the Disney movie Frozen, no less.
Clap! What is your problem? Give the man a prize right
Overpopulation, too many butts, too many farts, methane, global warming.
Very true. Very true. I don't know what he was talking about, but I agree with him.
It's just Al Gore.
It's a very common concern that if we increase longevity, it will lead to overpopulation and resource scarcity. But guess what's actually happening? Right now, all high longevity countries, which includes United States, Japan, Korea, China, Canada, all of Europe, Australia, all high longevity countries now have birth rates that are below replacement rate.
And 1
And
billion
there's
people.
his head.
And 1 billion people are being born every 10 years, which is a lot.
It is. So the remaining low longevity countries still have lots of babies and they're supplying the talent to us. We call that immigration. So the net is still increasing. But remember, more and more first world countries are becoming first world. And every first world country right now, the replacement rate is under 1. So here we are. We've been taught that population expansion is going to ruin the world and longevity is going to do it. Empirically, it's going exactly the opposite. Population is stabilizing because of healthcare and longevity. Yes?
Well, hold on.
I'm not entirely sure what the end game here is, but if you're actually freezing everyone at 25, like including fertility and hormones and everything, that could have an effect upon population boom.
It could. So if you actually achieve everybody being able to stay 25 and some of them reproduce, yes, it will expand. Although, that concern is if you're that healthy and that smart for that long, we'll figure out space travel, right? So there's all these other routes. I mean, space travel right now is like, it's a mythical idea, right? You're gonna have many generations die on that spaceship. Good luck, right?
We never even landed on the moon,
No, that was
It's been full of me.
I saw that same Facebook news article.
Come on, man. There's no way to the stratosphere or the atmosphere, whatever sphere is. Moonstalker? Yeah, it's going
Sphere station.
So empirically, this is the case. That right now, increasing lifespan seems to be associated with declining birth rates. Can anybody take a wild guess why? And we'll give the prize for the best
People that
answer.
haven't answered yet. All right, let's go.
If you're of about child rearing age and your parents are still alive and your partner's parents are still alive, that's kind of like 4 people that are depending on you to provide for them. So it might mean that you want to have fewer kids.
Yes, and then maybe because you want to prepare for, you need a longer retirement to plan for, so you want to get more educated, you work harder, and you don't have time to have kids. I think that's what I'm hearing you say.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Wow.
You're making scary for you.
Eureka!
I thought he was gearing up to kill you. Took a deep breath.
All right, we got a Happy Phil.
Squeeze it.
It's acid.
Oh, it's a laffy dick. All right.
You really won. Where you at?
That's not creepy.
Okay, so that's not the only reason. There's probably many different reasons. Anybody want to, from the audience, what are some other reasons? Yes, you raise your hand first.
1 second. Go ahead.
I actually would like to put in an objection about the question itself. I don't really think that declining birth rate is directly related with the lifespan. It's more associated with urbanization and the culture being more, the technological advance. Because as far as my understanding, as the society moves on from agriculture to urbanization, having kids has become from more workforce. Because when you're farming, having more kids means that you have more input in terms of how much people can work, versus as urbanization, having kids has become more of a cost. So that's where we're seeing all the decline in the birth rate in all the Asian countries and all the advanced countries, including Korea. That having kids has become such of a huge investment.
Oh, boy.
She just stole your answer, Mark.
And
So-
the organization is related with the.
And I agree with your objection, and that's why I use the word associated and not caused. So the relationship is there.
No, hey, fuck you. You guys didn't say anything. This woman just make valid points.
I mean, you know what?
I'm not gonna let her get rude. She just said that was the smartest thing I've ever heard. I have literally said nothing that smart in my life. Round of applause for that woman. Now it's got legitimately discourse about this.
You made up an answer, I'm going to make up an answer too, right? Because we can all speculate why is this happening, right? Because all we know is associates. I'm going to make up my own reason as one of the 20 different reasons that I think are all probably correct. So remember, average lifespan was 22, which meant that you became an adult at 13. That's when you hit puberty. 13 is the age of, back then it was consenting adults. Juliet was 13 when she hooked up with Romeo. I don't know how old Romeo was. But the idea of being young for 13, hooking up at age 13, having kids, raising them for about 9 years and dying at 22 was the average template. So when you got married and you said till death do us apart, it was not an unreasonable thing to say, because even if you made a horrible mistake, it's only 9 years of hell. But now, when your average lifespan is 100, and you're 13 years old, do you really want to say, till death do us apart, I'm willing to be with you for the next 87 years? No, most people are like, I'm not really sure. I have to do more due diligence. So most people just stick around, they keep dating, 20s, 30s, 40s, and then maybe you find somebody and you have time for one kid. Yeah. So, the fact that we're increasing lifespan has completely changed our mental model, because the stakes are much higher.
So, Doctor, what you're saying is hit it and quit it. So boil everything you just said down. Hit it and quit it, you got a lot of shit to do.
Where's the slide image for that? We're running out of time. That's your big head. We got 2 more questions left.
This might get to the last question. Sorry, I only have one more.
Is this the last one?
Yeah, it is. Okay. This is the hardest question. Should comedians teach medical school?
Yeah.
Not anyone.
Why not? They come up with the prices.
There you go. So who gets the prize? You guys decide.
No one. Yes or yes. Answer.
Should we teach? Teach medical school?
Well, I can teach you what not to do.
I've known to play doctor a couple times.
We should definitely lecture at medical school, because if you've followed comedy ever throughout the years, if I can take it back to the whole aging thing of Monty Python from Life of Brian, life's a piece of shit when you look at it. Life's a laugh and death's a joke, it's true. You'll see it's all the show. Keep them laughing as you go. Just remember that the last laugh is on you. That's all
I don't think I should teach medical school, because I know on stage I typically kill.
Like texting in the front row, that's tight.
Okay, guys, we're in the healthcare century, and we're getting older. Hopefully, we'll live long enough to get there. And the fact that only few of us get medical education is unfair. There's only 10,000 people that get medical education per year, the rich and the straight-A students. But given the fact that we all need healthcare, and the fact that we don't know enough of our bodies, is elitism, right? I mean, why isn't healthcare education an entitlement like English and math? And we could totally teach medical school to everyone. We should teach it under 13, right? Because medical school can be learned in 6 months. We just teach it too late. That's why it takes 4 years. But imagine if every kid in this country got a free medical education. We don't need to work through the School of Education or Board of Education. We just put it on the internet. But if you put it on the internet right now, are kids going to watch medical education? No. You know why? Because it's not funny. And
well, that's one reason.
Yeah. But imagine a world where every child's born and they download their own operating system. They get to know what's actually happening inside their body by learning from online. This is the universe, this is the world, this is how your body operates, so learn these things. And as a parent, that's your responsibility too.
Fuck you, future parents.
We're talking like YouTube surgery videos. Like nothing can go wrong with that.
Well, that's an important point. So if you think about it, if you actually change your framing, medicine and healthcare has the best raw materials. It's got violence, it's got blood, it's got poop, it's got death, it's got sex, and it's got drugs. These are the raw materials of great humor. And then they make,
Yeah. So it's so funny when you die, you shit yourself.
That's my entire set.
So healthcare has the best material, and we make it completely unfunny, right?
Yeah.
And you know what they taught us at the end of medical school? At the end of 4 years of studying all the stuff that's not funny, they said, laughter is the best medicine. I mean, why didn't you just tell us that in the first place? And think about, we said earlier, like stress is contagious, virus is contagious. So many of our diseases we can catch from each other, but none of our therapies today are contagious. Like if I gave you a drug for gout, it's not going to make you feel any better. So what's the one thing in healthcare that's not contagious?
Is that really what they said to you on your last day of medical school? Yeah, Robert was right. No, he's just like, take down, walk down.
Alright, so
Should have been a comic, going to open mics.
Let's give a prize out for the
Yes.
Yeah.
Alright, who got it? That was the last question.
That was the last question. All right. Give it to somebody. Yes, this last one is our own very own Eureka t-shirt.
Get excited!
Laughing.
All I gotta do is this.
Troy, we gotta figure out, well, no one actually answered that.
Well, they all said yes.
They all said yes? So maybe throw out, is there another like addendum, another question or something, so we can
Just, do you have a random fact that's not pertaining to this at all that you can ask, like a question?
And there's also another prize.
Acid.
About the
Can you-
question they asked them?
About anything, like do you have a riddle?
Give
You have a riddle?
like a symptom to a disease, and then like someone will be like,
Come on!
yeah, you get for that. Who said lupus? You get the Band-Aids? Here, how about
Band-Aids. That'll help you with your
All
right, and then
Yeah, so what is the disease
Correct.
that involves the big toe?
Gout.
Gout.
Well,
Come on! Everyone check out! You guys have another.
All right, yeah.
okay. That was too hard, too easy. So
That was
what?
way too easy.
Um,
I'm stupid. I got that.
okay. You know what? Okay, here.
You just have
Here we go.
So the
Here we go.
NIH's budget per year is $31 billion.
National
Okay.
Institute of Health.
Get it to the, get it within 10%. How much do Americans spend on candy between Valentine's Day, Halloween, and Easter? The
$3 billion.
NIH's total budget is $31 billion. How much?
$3 billion.
The total, the absolute dollars.
$200 billion.
40
100
billion.
billion. I still haven't heard it. Who's the first one to get within 10% of the right answer? 5 billion. I still haven't heard it.
1.21 trillion.
I haven't heard it.
8.6 billion?
31
Who really wants this t-shirt?
60 billion.
You really want this t-shirt?
It's warmer.
Yeah.
which one's close? Anyone? Any?
31's close.
31 is close?
40 billion. That's the answer. Is 33 billion.
Got it? Oh, you know what? I'm so sorry. You don't want it? You got a t-shirt? No, we're gonna get it. You get a t-shirt. Give me up my
Great question. So we spend as much money on candy a year as we do on the National Institute of Health budget.
Only those months. On just those 3 seasons, we spend more than we do in the entire medical research.
Sour Skittles though, am I right, guys? You know?
Yes. With Trump, that's gonna be
We're
all
funding
year.
diabetes.
So much fucking candy.
Alright, so we're gonna have you guys ask some questions, but before that, we wanna ask you a few questions. So first, with the innovations that we're currently experiencing with CRISPR and genetic engineering, what do you believe would be the best genes to borrow, maybe from lobsters or jellyfish or squid, or how can we possibly increase our longevity through genetic engineering?
Okay, so it is an intuition that there are genes that control aging that can be programmed out. We don't know what they are, but the reason we are so aware of the possibility is because we were told 50 years ago that all cells are programmed to die, and people didn't believe it until that won the Nobel Prize, right? That's what happens in science. We now are aware of cells that are programmed to die that edit out those genes on their own, What do we call those cells? So in a strange sort of way, nature's already showing us that there's a way to edit out your own aging. And cancer is a scourge of humanity, but instead of just thinking about what they're doing wrong, cancer, we should actually be thinking about what are they doing right? How are they able to...
Not much. He's not doing much, I'll tell you that.
You probably gave her cancer too.
Well, you know, it's a give and take relationship.
Mostly giving Mark cancer.
Yeah, and I'll take a little cancer
But
too.
how positive does one have to be to even think like, oh my gosh, cancer's killing everybody? But let's find the positive in cancer and try and utilize that genetic.
Yeah, we're just isolating the future of cancer, which is that they essentially edited out their senescence, and now they don't age.
Can you teach us what that word is? Because I had no idea that word existed.
Senescence is the word. They edited out senescence.
And senescence is what?
Senescence is basically is aging. Is the Latin term for aging. Now,
Deterioration with age is senescence, and cancer has edited out that.
Cancer can edit out, and they can edit out many different channels. It's not like they got lucky once. It's happening all over the world, independent of each other, that all take them towards editing out aging. They forgot to turn off reproduction, or at least the ones that we hear about. There's many cancer cells that are, that have edited out, but they don't replicate. You don't hear about it. But the ones that replicate get famous. They essentially cause a severe disease. So if we can just isolate the good features and not take on the bad features or edit those out, I think we've got the opportunity to dramatically change what aging is all about, what the style is all about.
I think marathon's for cancer.
Yeah.
You know.
Why don't we start
Is that too dark?
beating the cancer with cancer, you know? Isn't that you feed the hypertension, you know what I mean? And then you...
The idea, Bob Marley said...
What I'm trying to get is another girlfriend.
One more question.
Wait, hold on, what's the Bob Marley quote you have?
Bob Marley quote was, your greatest enemy may be your greatest friend.
Ah, that's Hitler. That sounds...
Hail Marley.
Okay, this one's another quick question. There's one more. So, the autonomic nervous system regulates homeostasis. And can we give the autonomic nervous system a boost to increase our homeostatic capacity?
Well, the autonomic nervous system is the part of the nervous system that you're not conscious of. It's all the automatic stuff like blinking, your heart pumping and things like that. And as we age, the system gets wobbly, and that's why you experience all these weird experiences. The best way to do that we know right now is increasing dynamic range by alternating exercise and rest. Exercise, rest. Interval training is the best way to between your arms.
Okay, and then last question would be, so we've heard about your Palo Alto Prize for longevity. You also taught me that because your son actually, you have an EpiPen yourself.
Yes.
And so he actually said that what if it's just because people don't produce enough epinephrine? And then you are starting another prize for that. The question is, what other prizes should exist if we could ask people to fund prizes in order to...
I love that. I love that question. So I don't have time to do this right now, but so I'm allergic to nuts. And when you watch somebody collapse...
So is my girlfriend, you know what I mean?
Such a fucking layup. Don't hold it over the plate like that.
So when a patient who is allergic to nuts has a nut, their blood pressure drops, they can't breathe, and normal people, you make enough epinephrine on your own and you get back to homeostasis. So, and I looked at all the research going on in allergies, and didn't come up with anything really compelling. But my 9-year-old son at that time said, "Hey, Dad, maybe you just can't make enough epinephrine," because all he saw was epinephrine going in, and people come back to life. And that question had never been posed. We all think it's an immune disease, allergen. There's no doubt there's an immune component to food allergies, but what actually people are really afraid of is anaphylaxis. And anaphylaxis is not cured by any immune drug, it's restored by essentially a neural hormone. So that's an example of where not a single scientist posed the question, is it epinephrine insufficiency? But a 9-year-old who knows nothing, who can count all the F's, says, oh, that's an F right there, or that's an E right there, epinephrine. So we're now we started funding research at Stanford to test kids' ability to make epinephrine as a potential cause of food allergies. So imagine, not just one kid doing this, imagine if you actually had a medical education. Imagine if 1 million kids per year at age 9 got medical education. This is my backup system. If we can't solve aging through all the science that's going on, let's just give everybody medical education, and I think in 15 years we'll solve almost everything.
bit before we end. I know it's hot in here, but if you have any questions you want to ask the doctor, raise your hand right now.
All right, I'm going after this guy. All right, let's have
And you guys should feel free to answer as well.
Oh, I thought he was referring to me as a doctor.
Yeah, I'm
Dr. Cool.
Well, if we extend, our lifespan, we're also going to have, I think, first of all, does everybody want to live that long? I mean, to think of that question, because at some point, I think I would get bored. And also, we might have to think of the question of euthanasia, because, and allowing it, because, there comes a point where you've done it all.
Okay, so the longevity movement is an option. We're not going to force it on people. So this movement is the first thing that's both pro-life and pro-choice. You don't have to take it, right? The second thing is this idea of boredom. So like living 1,000 years sounds really tedious, right? I was tying my younger son's shoes, and he said, "Hey, Dad, 1,000 is a really small number. It's only 2050s." Okay, so I was kind of processing that.
Are both your kids doctors?
Mathematician.
Hey, Dad, I have a brilliant question for you.
They're just F counters.
Tying his shoes, he just sees infinity.
Yeah, just little junior Matt Damon's filling all the
beautiful lines.
That's right. So we're talking earlier about the fact that I come from a village that's been together 1,000 years. So I used to always hear stories about things that happened 1,000 years ago. And when I was young, 1,000 years feels like infinity. So I felt no connection to the people from 1,000 years. Well, now I've been alive, I'm almost 50 years, right? And I can tell you, 50 years went by in a blink. So that means 1,000 years is only 20 blinks. It's not that long. And once I realized that, I felt a huge connection to people from 1,000 years ago. I feel connection to people 1,000 years from now. We're all contemporaries. If you think about the beginning of civilization, it's only 200 blinks. It's not that long ago. And it makes you totally realize that this is just a moment in time, and 1,000 years is going to go by so fast. I don't think we're going to get bored.
Really? Yeah. What was let me ask you a question.
Okay, we're not getting bored.
Only bored people get bored. What was the worst year of your life?
Boy.
How old were you when you had the worst year of your life so far?
Probably 13.
13? Did that feel like a blink?
That felt like a lifetime.
That shit.
Exactly.
That's longevity.
I'm not trying, you're brilliant, I'm fucking stupid, but I've had a lot of really fucking long blinks in my life. And I don't know if I want to have 5 more super long blinks,
Well, that's where the suicide thing comes in.
Yeah, exactly.
Does anyone know where the Golden Gate Bridge is?
All right, next question. Pro-life and pro-choice.
Yeah.
Pro-blink.
Legalize blink.
Blink myself.
So how long would you want to live? If you were die young, what would be your age that you would expect to live?
So,
at the end of your life.
Yeah, so I want to be healthy as long as I can. So it's not about how long I want to live. I want to be at that state of feeling nothing or as little as possible for as long as possible.
Wow.
So 500?
That's the golden age, all right?
Give me an answer, doctor.
That's the age of the guy in the last crusade.
Back with him. He's not taking notes. 500.
All right, another question.
500?
Yeah.
Days, years, is that months?
So I think another side effect of this homeostasis thing is life doesn't suck as much when you're older. So maybe you would want to live where you wouldn't. And my question for you is, how does the sustainability of homeostasis relate to cell methylation?
I'll take this one. Don't worry about it.
This mark.
I'm sure that's a callback we can refer to.
Well, we strangle cats for one.
First of all, we kill them, all right? We make them lay like this.
On a rug.
For 500 years.
throw them in a valley.
All right, go back to the doctor.
So methylation, for those that don't have a medical education, is the turning on and off of genes selectively. It's called epigenetics. So it's not just, we were taught that your genes make you up, but it turns out it's the genes plus the environment that define who you are, that determines your phenotype. The connection between that and aging, lots of people are looking at what are the methylation patterns after 40 than before. There's a study down at UCLA that showed that we turn on the same set of genes we have our whole life. We turn on a completely different set of genes when we're in our aging state. That can either be the cause or the effect of the aging process. So we don't know exactly what the association is yet. The idea that being healthy for a long period of time, the comment you made earlier, is exactly the hope of the optimist, is that if we actually restore homeostatic capacity, it's going to unlock human capacity. God knows, by the time we get educated and become sentient, our bodies are fading. So then we quickly try to pass on everything we learned to the next generation, called, through school, right, or through books. But imagine if you could longitudinally acquire all these means in education. So many people now are inventing things at a life age where they would not have been alive had health cannot make them live longer. Like Jonas Salk invented the Salk vaccine at age 54. He wasn't supposed to live that long. He lived long enough to invent. So imagine what you're going to unlock if you're healthy, mentally healthy, in your 70s, 80s, 100s, 120s. I think that's when you see the human potential take off.
Once you're like 200, you haven't done shit with your life.
200 poverty.
Yeah.
But there's always comedy in that.
How is this guy not getting booked?
Yeah, he just slew us. Best joke of the night. We can do one final quick question, then we'll. I have no self-esteem anymore.
Are you aware of any research that's been done on time dilation and aging?
Time, by that you mean the subjective experience of time?
Relativistic time, yes.
I love that someone found that funny.
Who's this fucking Art Bell back here?
I think the notion here is if you really want to extend your life, like sit in a dentist chair, right? Because that hour feels like 2 hours. I don't.
I got 4 root canals. That's like 5 blinks.
I'm trying to smoke a big blink after this.
Fatty blink.
So I don't know, and maybe we can end with another question. One more question.
Fucking Eureka, stuff the doctor. How about that? I like this guy.
Final question.
All right.
Try not to skip something.
In your medical opinion, how often should I do acid?
I think isn't the answer 500?
Yeah, 500.
Our answer is
Come see me afterwards.
whenever you stop being completely basic.
I think that's it.
That's it, Joe. Come on, man. It's a callback from 2 fucking hours ago.
I think that is it, guys. If you want to ask more questions, hang out after the show. Is that cool? Absolutely. Mingle, ask questions.